Alright everyone, welcome to the channel and welcome to this week's episode of This Week in Crypto, the weekly news series where we discuss everything going on in the markets in 5 minutes or less. There is a ton to talk about in terms of news events for this week, specifically what's happening midweek around Tuesday and Wednesday. So let's dive into everything that happened over the weekend and then we'll talk about what news events to expect for this upcoming week in the markets. Our first story comes from Michael Saylor's MicroStrategy, which says it wants to buy more Bitcoin in a stock sale filling. The firm plans to sell as much as 500 million in Class A shares. MicroStrategy filed with the US Securities and Exchange Commission to sell as much as 500 million in stock. The proceeds may be used to buy more Bitcoin. No specific date was provided for any potential sales. The firm added that it intends to retain all future earnings, if any, to purchase additional Bitcoin and for the development of its software business. We've also seen some positive news from Ukraine, whose army says it's triple retaken an area. Ukraine's military says its forces have retaken over 3,000 square kilometers during a rapid counter-offense in eastern Ukraine. Following this, Russia withdraws more forces from northeast Ukraine as Kiev presses advance. The stock futures were also bouncing back over the weekend because of the ECB rate hike, where ECB Christine Lagarde raised the interest rates across the board by 75 basis points. Since this has happened, the euro and the Great British pound has similarly regained some of its ground against the dollar. However, when you look at what's happening with the Great British Pound and the Euro, it's really only reclaimed a couple of weeks worth of losses. So I'm still keeping my eyes on lower lows and lower highs on this front. And as you can see, the DXY has been moving down since this news. So, what's going on this week then? Well, let's start off with Monday, and I also want you to know that we are currently in an FOMC blackout until the 21st, which means that we're not going to be having any comments from the Fed on any monetary or fiscal policies until the 21st. So, with that being said, moving on to Monday, we do have the report from the UK GDP, which has come out very slightly positive. Now, this is technically bullish, however, you know, it's more or less just stagnation in my opinion, and I don't think it's going to have a large impact on the markets at this moment in time. Now, the UK trade balance was actually up slightly, but do bear in mind their trade balance is still in almost a 20 billion deficit, so not too much to update over on here. And the India CPI is once again up to 7% year over year. Moving on to Tuesday, we have our CPI reports. Now, we've got a collective from the German CPI, Spain CPI, and of course, the most important ones, US headline inflation, which is the CPI, and of course, US core consumer price index. Now, for Germany and Spain, these are much less important. However, I will just let you know, Germany consumer price index is predicted that it will have less inflation than the previous month. Spain CPI is predicting to have slightly more inflation than the previous month. And with the US consumer price index, we're expecting a decent amount of inflation to have subsided, but nonetheless, you're not going to see any bullish impact on the markets unless you see headline inflation at / below 8% and you see core inflation at / below 6%. Now, moving on to late Wednesday / early Thursday, we of course have the Ethereum merge, followed up by the Mt. Gox refunds, which are taking place on September the 15th. Also, remember, there is going to be that Fed blackout, so don't expect too much Fed commentary until the 21st. That is basically all we've got going on this week, and also coming into next week, we'll talk about this more in the upcoming episodes, but we've got about another 9 days until our next FOMC meeting. The Chicago Mercantile Exchange is predicting a 92% likelihood of another 75 basis point increase. What do you think of that? Is that too conservative? Are we going to have a higher interest rate hike than previous months? What do you think is happening down below? Let me know in the comments section. That's all I've got for you today, my friends, and as always, cowboy out. Peace.